As much as you and I might not like the federal NDP, the one positive thing we can say about them is that they always exceed our expectations. Exceed our expectations in terms of how ignorant they are. It's borderline impressive. They do not know anything about public policy. They are not coherent in any way in terms of the positions that they'll take on one day and then the position they will take on the next day. But in a certain sense, that's inspiring to know that these people can be multi-term MPs, and that means anyone could be an MP. You and I easily could be MPs tomorrow, because at the very least we can actually put our pants on in the morning, where all these people don't seem to have any clue where they are, since they constantly say things that they would have condemned yesterday. So I have two great examples here for you guys today. MPs Laurel Collins and Heather McPherson going on about topics that they have no credibility to speak on, and yet they are still trying to make these emotional appeals as to why their pro-censorship, big union positions are the most ethical or whatever they're on about. I don't even get their points half the time. But first up is Laurel Collins stumping for the pro-censorship bill, Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act that would have you put under house arrest because you might say something hateful or you might say something discriminatory that might lead to hate. And she's saying that we should be supporting this bill because it will stop anti-Semitism. This being a lady who supports anti-Semitism, who wanted there to be a ceasefire in Gaza without hostages being released back to Israel, who doesn't care that Hamas crossed the border on October 7th and slaughtered 1,200 Jews and then took 250 hostages. No. She doesn't care about any of those things, but she deeply, supposedly cares about anti-Semitism now going on in Canada today.
I want to focus on the bill that, part of the bill that addresses hate. In the past few weeks, we have seen horrific attacks on synagogues, on Jewish schools, and I've met with community members and leaders from the Jewish community who are scared. They're scared about the rise in anti-Semitism, and a number of them have raised how online platforms are fueling this kind of hate. And so, we must address the issues around civil liberties and free speech that are problematic.
I like her little inclusion of a cutout token nod towards constitutional freedoms and our rights. At the same time, she is stumping for us to lose rights to be able to speak freely online. Maybe those Jewish people who are meeting with you were scared and concerned about stuff that you post online, because you actually draw hatred by, out of the communities that you're trying to pander to, by implying that Israel going after Hamas terrorists is somehow evil. It's in fact the NDP base that goes and occupies university campuses, attacks Jewish students, doesn't let Jewish students into their encampments, just labels them all Zionists just because they're Jewish, which proves that it's not because they're Zionists, it's because they're Jewish and they don't like Jews. That maybe that's why there are people inside the Jewish community that are concerned. There are skinheads that exist online, not very many of them. It's usually woke SJW leftists who are talking about how we need to put Zionist heads on pikes. And Laurel Collins has been clapping for them all this time, saying that they're actually massive freedom fighters. There are people who actually care about ethics. But, whatever. It's about, give her all the power so now she can regulate what you say and do online, even though what she says and does online and in real life is the real driver of hatred. But now I want to move over to NDP MP Heather McPherson from Edmonton Strathcona, I believe is her riding, and she's talking about giving the ability to strike to CBSA workers, Canadian border agents, people who by definition cannot strike because of the sensitivity of their jobs. But in this clip, she's going to contradict herself multiple times by highlighting the fact that they have sensitive jobs, but also saying they should be able to walk off the job whenever they want to negotiate for pensions. But before we get into the clip, I just quickly want to plug the TNT Legal Fund that is linked in the description of this video below. It is a Give, Send, Go link. We have a billionaire from China, a developer, trying to sue us for having a guest writer just report on the fact that he and other people were donating to Aaron O'Toole's 2020 leadership campaign. He's suing us for defamation, even though everything we said about him was just based off of a previous article by the Globe and Mail. We are $29,000 into defending ourselves, so any dollar that you can put into that fund really helps take the burden off of us. But without further ado, Here is Heather McPherson, but I do want to read the top text first because this does play into how ridiculous this is. She says, Canada's border service agents are not treated fairly when it comes to pensions, but the minister is focused on reminding agents that they are not allowed to strike for fair treatment. Shameful. And this is Heather McPherson trying to make a big deal about something that is completely sensible. It's weird that I have to defend a liberal minister right now, but this liberal minister's just correct. She's just correct as she gets into this, that obviously negotiations have to happen, but it has to be appropriate.
From Edmonton, Strathcona.
Mr. Speaker, border workers keep Canadians safe. They're critical to keeping illegal firearms out of the country and protecting our border. But when it comes to their pensions, CBSA workers aren't treated like other public safety officials. CBSA employees are relying on the minister to keep her promise and give fair retirement benefits. When will the minister treat CBSA officers fairly and offer them an equitable pension so that they can get the respect they deserve?
The Honourable President of the Treasury Board.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to begin by saying that we are committed to reaching a deal that is fair for employees and for Canadian taxpayers. That deal will be reached at the table, Mr. Speaker. We are committed to negotiation, but negotiation is a process of give and take, and we are more than willing to make concessions, but we expect that to happen on the other side as well. 90% of border services workers are essential. That means they have the responsibility and duty to provide uninterrupted services, but I will reiterate the best deals are made at the table, and that's where we will remain until a deal is reached. Thank you.
Like, why do I have to even say what the Liberal minister said was sensible? That was, but the NDP only has whining on their side. And like, obviously, CBSA workers cannot strike, Heather. Obviously, they cannot. That's why police officers cannot strike, because the amount of leverage that they have from striking is extremely inappropriate, that the police could just say, yeah, we're just not going to protect anyone for the next month. Let a bunch of murders happen. We don't care because we want more money. Obviously, that's unethical. And generally, the public sector, like the government, has dealt with them pretty fairly. CBSA workers trying to strike when you've just said that their jobs are important for keeping illegal firearms, drugs, and gang members out of the country should indicate to you, maybe just a little bit, why they can't strike. But Heather doesn't care. She's just a crazy hyper pro-union activist. And so she is here to ask the stupidest questions on the planet as to why we can't just have people critical for the security of the country walk off the job. Why can't members of the military walk off the job if they aren't given pay increase? Because it's the military. You got to quit the job if you don't think it's fair what you're getting paid, because it's just how the job works. You don't have to work it, but if you are there, you can't just say, I'm just not going to care or check people's vehicles for illegal items anymore. Like, it's just how it works. But anyways, I want to end this off by talking about this last post by Jagmeet Singh's NDP's official X account. They're trying to go after Pierre Poilievre right now because Poilievre isn't a communist. I know that's not shocking to you guys, and that's probably a reason why you like Pierre Poilievre, but apparently, according to Jagmeet Singh's NDP, Pierre Poilievre is a very evil man because he's not a communist. Because this is what the NDP posted just now. They said, last week, New Democrats forced a vote to bring down prices on essential food items. Pierre Poilievre voted against it, so big grocers can charge you more. No, that's just how the economy works, Jagmeet. We have grocery prices going up because you've raised taxes, you've raised government spending, increasing inflation because of the printing of money, higher regulations, higher minimum wages. This is what is causing prices to go up. It's what the government's doing. I covered it like a week or two ago. Jagmeet Singh legitimately couldn't admit that taxes make prices go up. The man's just delusional. And so this graphic then says, Jagmeet Singh fighting to lower grocery prices and Pierre Poilievre padding the pockets of grocery giants. Price fixing is not padding people's profits. It is saying that they can charge what they want. And guess what? You can pay what you want by refusing to buy at a certain price and go somewhere where the prices are lower. And contrary to popular belief in the NDP, prices are lower at different locations. They're actually the highest at Metro, who Jagmeet Singh's brother Guritan Singh works as a lobbyist for, which is why he only barely started to call them out recently after it came out that that's why he was voting criticizing Metro. But you can find places like Kroger's or other areas where the net profits of the business are only like 1.9%, and then go to Metro where they're 4%. And guess what? I am offended by none of those profit margins because you get to operate your company the way you want. In pretty much every other line of work or business industry, other than like airlines, 4% is considered extremely thin. But for some reason, that's considered record profits. That's gratuitous. I can't believe that every dollar that they spend and they work hard for, that they make 4 cents. That, I don't know what to tell these people. But anyways, that should be it for me today, guys. The NDP tires me out, so I want this video to end. But again, you can donate to the Give, Send, Go link in the description of the video below. I'm not plugging my run for the Calgary Signal Hill nomination right now because if you don't know yet, I was actually disqualified from running for particularly no reason. We are appealing, so I'm not talking about it too much right now. But we have indications from behind the scenes that even the people on the National Candidate Selection Committee don't even know why they were pushed into voting me down. So, well, if you've been supporting me, that's great. We'll hopefully get appealed and approved back into the race, but we don't know what's going to happen at this point. So if you're wondering why in the next few videos I'm not going to mention it, it's because we're now in a holding pattern, not knowing if I'm in or out. Have a good one.